get today's storm, so he gets high on you. And the energy you trade, he gets right on to the friction of the
We ought to let the folks see behind the scenes a little bit before they... No, we ought not allow them to do that. Hi, Tom. Trento on the 20th of January 2015. In 2 months, ladies and gentlemen, we are leaving for Israel on a behind-the-scenes trip to the hot spots in Israel. And the hot spots, if you're following any news, anywhere, anytime, right now, are getting hotter. We have a couple of stories today. On Thursday, we'll go in detail with Aria Gozi, reporting live from Israel and Jerusalem, Jane. But we do have later on Skyped in from Canada, a woman who does a tremendous amount of blogging on Israel and watching the country of Canada on the jihad. But yesterday we had the Israelis hit 2 groups of enemies right in the area where we are going to be on the Golan, the Syrian border. And one of the groups that got hit was carrying this son. His name is Jihad Mugahene.
That is so appropriate.
Yeah, Jihad, yeah, that's his name. And he was involved with various
But he has nothing to do with Islam.
No, nothing to do with Islam. His name is Jihad. He was involved.
He hijacked and perverted it.
His dad was involved with various terrorist attacks, significant ones that killed Israelis. He is now with his 72 minimum. Actually, it's 70 virgins, 2 wives, and possibly up to 4,000. Even another 8,000 thrown in. We're going to bring you Islamic doctrine that says exactly that. But he's in someplace.
Jannat.
And then another convoy was hit in Syria, carrying 6 members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, one of whom was a general. And we'll bring you that story shortly. The Iranians have vowed to respond at a choice of their time, and they're planning to strike Israel. So yes, things are heating up, and things are always heated up over there. If you have the fortitude to come with us, let me assure you it's safe. We don't go into war zones, anything like that. We're always protected. Phenomenal behind-the-scenes trip. But what we're stressing, folks, at 8 minutes after 4 o'clock here on the 20th of January, with 2 months left, we need you to sign up right now. We need you to sign up this week. What we're stressing is the importance of what's occurring in Israel and what's occurring in Washington, D.C. later this evening. What's occurring in Washington, D.C. later this evening?
State of the Union.
Yeah, I tweeted out this morning that the State of the Union of the United States of America should be perfect because the Messiah had 6 years to fix everything necessary. And that's the nonsense you're going to hear today. You're going to hear an allusion or two to foreign policy. It's not usually where that's dealt with. You'll hear an allusion. But our premise is that we here at the United West and Americans need to confront and repair the damage Obama has done to our relationship with Israel, and you see things tightening up in Israel. And a lot of this show today is going to be a follow-up on the stand with Mohammed, stand with the prophet nonsense coming out of Garland, Texas. So we got great stuff for you. What do we have for an opening video? What do you guys ever figure out what we have for?
We got the Garland video.
Oh, Garland. I thought we wanted to go here.
No, we had 30 seconds. Or we can go there. Whichever way you want to go. You go to ISIS or you want to go to Garland?
Oh, you got the ISIS one? The Islamic State? All right, just setting this up very, very quickly. The Islamic State is getting pounded by the allies, such as they are. And they need money, and they need to make a public statement. They snatched a couple of Japanese guys, NGOs, non-government organization workers. And it's very interesting what the Japanese have done to support the effort to destroy the Islamic State. It's very interesting how on a world stage, because of the capability we have to come to you, the Islamic State is perfecting their social media propaganda. Watch what they say directly to the leaders of Japan.
There's your
To the Prime
message.
Minister of Japan, although you are more than 8,500 kilometers away from the Islamic State, you willingly have volunteered to take part in this crusade. You have proudly donated 100 million to kill our women and children, to destroy the homes of the Muslims. So the life of this Japanese citizen will cost you 100 million. And in an attempt to stop the expansion of the Islamic State, you also donated another 100 million to train the Murtadeen against the Mujahideen. And so the life of this Japanese citizen will cost you another 100 million. And to the Japanese public, just as how your government has made the foolish decision to pay 200 million to fight the Islamic State, you now have 72 hours to pressure your government in making a wise decision by paying the 200 million to save the lives of your citizens. Otherwise, this knife will become your nightmare.
Was that
Whoa.
$200 million or 200 million yen? Because
From
if
the
it's
creators of World of...
yen, you know.
Whoa! I mean that this is really a very interesting world we're living in, because the impact of that, what is that, 1 minute, 30 seconds or something?
Yeah, about a minute.
1 minute piece to show you the impact of geopolitical propaganda, which is why you folks out there that like what we do need to support us even more greatly, because we're fighting those guys with the same exact weapons, and we can produce phenomenal material that will cut to the heart of the Islamic State, cut to the heart of Islamic Jihad. In fact, we're moving into a new studio, but we need your help. Commercial-free television here, commercial-free radio, but the commercial
For now, we have some people interested in advertising.
Possibly.
So if anyone is, contact us.
give us a call. But the commercial right now is, please donate. You saw what these guys just did in 1 minute. The new capabilities with the new media technology is astronomical in terms of its geopolitical impact.
And notice where the message is directed, because the voice is English,
British, yeah.
British, pure, as clear,
Jihad John they know who he is, Jihad John.
as clear spoken English as you can have without an accent. This is directed at the American audience.
Japanese audience.
Well, no,
the American audience.
It's
sure.
directed at the American
West,
audience.
yeah.
The West,
The
in
West.
general.
Yeah, it's not in Arabic to get their followers to go. It is directed at the West for propaganda value.
And, you know, I mean, this is a huge, huge poker game here. They looked at, and the composition of this piece of propaganda is brilliant. These guys have brilliantly put together a piece which says, and look, we teach on Islamic doctrine here. And Muslims now, and the Islamic State is trying to validate and justify itself in the eyes of many very significant ayatollahs on the Shia side and imams on the and ulema, Muslim scholars on the Sunni side. They're trying to validate their work. So they just subtly present it to the world, defensive jihad. These aren't the guys that ran in and shot up all the Charlie Hebdo cartoonists. They're saying, you spent $100 million funding the air campaign killing our women and children to the Japanese, and you spent another $100 million equipping your trainers, your contractors, to train people how to fight us. That's $200 million. Well, guess what? We have to defend ourselves now. Now, this wasn't spoken, but this is the subliminal message to the leaders, both on the Sunni Shia side, to get more and more to join the validity of the Islamic State. They're trying to grow as a legitimate state. And they said, hey, to pay for your sins, $100 million for this guy, $100 million for that guy, all is forgiven, you can have him back. And, but if you continue to give money to fight this battle, guess what? We're going to take more of you guys. Yeah, sure.
This is great in two fronts. One, it does exactly what it's meant to do, is terrorize the West. On a second front, it's got to be phenomenal for recruiting for them.
They're in control. They're in power.
These guys are what's beyond the Super Bowl? Coming up in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, what's beyond the Super Bowl? Is there What's the game after the Super Bowl? The
The
Pro
Pro Bowl's
Bowl?
now before
Yeah,
it.
it's
Is it
just a
before?
joke.
It's
Is it
before
before?
it now, yeah.
Guys are going to play before?
They're
No,
not the
no,
guys
no,
in the
no,
game.
no.
They all back out and they get replacements.
Yeah, they're all
That's how
sore.
Miami Dolphins make the roster.
Okay, okay. The Islamic State guys making these videos are the Super Bowl MVP players. That's who they are, all of them. And all the little jihadis, 15 to 40, I want to join these guys. Who the heck wants to live in a cave and fight? I want to fight with these guys. What do you do if you're the Japanese government?
You go in with your special forces and you go and rescue your guys.
Japanese special forces?
Well,
Japanese, who it was one of your general friends, or it might have been Gary Burnson that said the Japanese have a phenomenal military, and not to mess with them. So if I was them, I would go in and do the right thing.
Like, where do you go? You don't even know where these guys are.
Uh,
Well, here's what they said. The prime minister, president of Japan, immediately had a press conference and said, "Well, what do you think?" He said,
No,
they
we're
have
not
they're-
paying any. We don't pay for ransom. I don't know. I don't know what he said, but I'm guessing that he said we're not paying for ransom. We don't cave in to terror.
That's exactly what he said. It's very interesting because after World War II, they had to sign declarations saying that they would not create an offensive force anymore. But yeah, the Japanese prime minister said, we're not giving in to these guys. Case closed.
I'd send in some samurai warriors.
These guys are most
Well,
likely.
show them really.
No.
Some samurais could show these jihadis how you really use a knife.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I tell
yeah,
you
that's
what,
true.
one nation, and they will never show two people on their knees getting ready to be beheaded. What nation do you think that is?
The Chinese, of
The
course.
Chinese. Why?
Because they're nuts.
Because the Chinese will just come in there and obliterate it.
Yeah, they'll just they'll figure it away.
They'll say, you know what? We're going to send, like 1 million people over there just to eradicate.
We've been wanting to test these nukes for a while.
We got to thin out the herd. We got too many women. They do.
Screw those underground and underwater blasts. Let's go blow one up in the desert.
No, the Chinese. This is a serious demographic problem. 20 years ago, they passed a law that said because they value men more than women,
Right.
They passed a law that you can only have one baby in your family, and if it's a woman, you can abort it because the families need men
Men,
to do
right.
the work, the
Right,
labor,
right.
the proletariat
Yeah.
class. Well, now they got an unbalanced, the
It's
natural.
they actually balance is 106 to 100 flipped when it's normally
The other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally it's 50-50 or close to it, men and women. But now they have artificially adjusted their demographics, the Chinese, at 19 minutes after WSBR radio, where they have too many men. So they're looking for a war. They're actually looking for a war.
Remember when we saw Trevor Loudon speak at the Tea Party and he laid out the scenario of Russia hitting us with tactical nukes to be followed by a Chinese invasion to alleviate their heavy on
imbalance.
testosterone?
Yeah, if you do the demographics on that, it's quite interesting. You have the normal ratio is 104 to 105 to 106 men to women. I mean, women to men.
So 104 men are born, 106 women are born. Something like that.
No, 100 men are born to 104 to 106.
No, I always thought it was opposite because
no.
because
I did 2 years research on this.
Well,
Okay,
I've also heard that there are more men are born because more men will die performing their jobs, i.e., soldiers, dangerous jobs, and somehow nature took care of it, and that naturally more men are born because they're more likely to die at an earlier age. That's just what I've heard.
What did you
well,
find in
the
your
actual
research?
statistics show that eventually over time it's 104 to 105 women to men. Okay, unless something happens like in the Middle East and it's flipped, or like in China it's flipped, or in India where it's flipped, where it's actually the other way around, and it comes out to each one of these countries have an abundance of, or a shortage of, if you will, about 20 to 25 million in the Middle East, and they have
Give us the short story. On that.
what I'm saying is they have out of this the population of
The
Chinese
don't
that is like
know. 1 billion people.
yeah, but you do that math, you flip it around, they're missing a whole bunch of women. I mean, in the
yeah.
millions and millions and millions. So they have a
no,
overflow
they're
of men. And so
Yes,
they're
yes,
just
yes.
wait. Like, I'm just agreeing with you. They're just ready to go.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not just a little bit. It's
Yeah, no, I know.
in the millions.
Yeah. And they're very frustrated guys because not enough women around. So you got a frustrated guy. What do? Give him a weapon, and send him
Yeah.
after the jihadis. So
No,
that's-
they're begging for a war on the male side. They really are.
yeah.
Well, then you have the Uyghurs, the Chinese jihadis.
Yep. They're keeping quiet up there. They're keeping
Well, that's
quiet.
because when they do act up, China goes in and puts a kibosh on them.
So, developing story, what is Japan going to do? And the Islamic State Jihad John, they call him. They know
He's
he's
a
an
ba-
Englishman. He's an Englishman from London. And 72 hours. They gave him a 72-hour window. So today is what? 21 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 20th. So by the 23rd, which is when? Wednesday, what's today? Tuesday? Wednesday?
Tuesday the 20th.
So Friday morning, sadly, get ready to see.
That is 1 virgin per hour.
Yeah, get ready to see a video come out with these guys minus their heads. That's probably what's going to happen, unless a lot of bravado up front by the Prime Minister, behind the scenes, State Department work, variety of countries paying these guys
France.
off, getting these guys back.
France in particular.
Because we don't know. They could be the children of billionaires, Japanese billionaires who say, I'm paying the money, and back channel work. But the point is, the Islamic State is alive and well and killing in a neighborhood coming to you. Now, what does the Islamic State have to do? Tom Trento raising the question here on WSBR Radio, 740 AM on your dial, 422 in the afternoon, East Coast time. What does the Islamic State have to do with standing with the Prophet? This seems to be the great philosophical and theoretical and logical dilemma for many middle Americans today. People are trying to figure out, as the Charlie Hebdo situation in Paris, which is still developing, ladies and gentlemen. We had about 96 hours of some Islamic calm because even the jihadis in the jihadi countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Yemen, Morocco, even they took a time out from jihad craziness. But now we are seeing demonstrations to the point of people dying in the streets because Charlie Hebdo, the cartoon magazine from Paris, France, has upped the press print to 7 million. There's such a demand. And now people are dying in Muslim countries because Muslims are going nuts in protest against the new Charlie Hebdo cover, which is a benign, innocuous cover. It has Muhammad on there saying, I stand with Charlie. Muslims in Muslim countries worldwide are holding up signs saying we do not, and they're getting in fights with others who are saying, other Muslims saying, calm down. They're killing each other as we speak here on Tuesday, January 20th. I just heard Anjem Chowdhury interviewed by two Israelis on the radio. They did a great job, these two guys that interviewed him. And they asked the question about the Shariah law being implemented. And they asked Anjem, what country can you point to? And we've asked this question a lot of Muslims.
Right.
Anjem, what country can you point to right now where the Sharia is indeed bringing about stability and peace and harmony and all the stuff you speak about and all the stuff Muslim scholars speak about that the Sharia will bring about? Help us look to that country as a model, and maybe people will start believing your line of reasoning. What do you think his answer was?
Saudi Arabia.
No, because he does not like the rulers of Saudi
I'm
Arabia.
guessing.
Anjem Chowdhury, barrister, lawyer from London, Islamic scholar, pro-Sharia advocate. On our show, we did an hour interview with him on Fox all the time. One of the leading advocates of the Sharia, one of the leading advocates for the Islamic State. When asked, please point to a country that we can look to that shows the beauty of Sharia implemented in public policy and public life. His response was,
But there isn't one.
dead air. And I go, oh, this is interesting. And then he said, well, he's very quick on his feet. Anjem Choudhury said, the problem is, folks, gentlemen, he was very hesitant to call the two Jewish guys he was on the radio with. We're putting up some still shots of Anjem on our show. He said, problem is, out of the 56 Islamic nations, no nation has implemented the Sharia as it's supposed to be implemented.
Well, that was going to be my other...
What a freaking crazy answer that is.
I know.
This beautiful thing that will change the world can't even exist in the countries that are Islamic. Yet, in Texas, they want to bring it here.
Yep.
This is amazing for an Islamic scholar, Anjem, to say it doesn't exist in Islamic countries to the point where it's providing and producing benefit. How in the world can anyone seriously take the idea that the Sharia has any benefit in any way, any manner for anybody in the West?
Ask your friend Saba Ahmed.
What a joke.
No, it's a
Saba,
complete...
where are you when we need you, Saba?
No, it's a complete and total joke. I mean, it doesn't exist. It can't exist. Even in ISIS. If he said ISIS is the perfect...
He should have said that, right?
He should have said
Exactly.
ISIS, all right? Because that is the perfect implementation of Sharia. And he's come out and said he's in support of ISIS. If he's in support of ISIS, that is his ideal Sharia state.
He said he wanted to go join
He wants to
ISIS,
go join
remember?
for a while, yeah.
So his correct answer should have been ISIS, and that it's not actually implemented perfectly in any of these countries. It's a farce. It's a lie. The whole Sharia concept.
Well, let's go the other way. We maintain here, in a very truthful, evidentiary manner, we maintain the United West, Tom Trento, the guys here, the Center for Security Policy, our new publication, Secure Freedom Strategy. We maintain that not only is the Sharia not, those are double negatives, not only is the Sharia not beneficial to mankind, conversely, it's destructive, not constructive, destructive to mankind. And if the task were to be given that you had to assemble on one side of the table the destructive evidence of the Sharia, and on the other side, the constructive evidence of the Sharia, I'll go so far as to say, as evaluated in one test by an Eastern mind, and on another test by a Western mind, clearly from a Western perspective, the Sharia has been nothing but destructive for 1,400 years. Nothing constructive about it. And in fact, these two radio personalities in Israel said, Anjem, if you have your Sharia, where are your Nobel Prize winners? Where are your artists? Where are, in the last 100 years, what has the Sharia in Islam produced and provided to the world? You know, what? And his answer was, we don't follow man-made Nobel Prizes. Right. We don't follow man-made art. We have our own view. So even from an Eastern mindset, for people being honest, most people in the East will say that the Sharia has been destructive. At least the Syrians at the other edge of the sword are saying that. Has been destructive. Certainly from a Western mindset, the Sharia has been nothing but destructive. Now, let's drill down a little step further.
At its core, Sharia is anti-modernity. It is anti-everything Western, art, literature, music,
aesthetics, beauty,
humor,
enjoyment, humor,
everything in the Sharia says get rid of any type of modernity anywhere.
13 kids executed by the Islamic State, teenagers, yesterday.
Yes.
You know why?
Were they gay?
Watching
a soccer game. 13, we have distress there. 13 kids. You have a lot of distress with that. 13 kids executed by them. Let's see if we can get Imam Abdullah.
Well, what we can do, when we cut to the... we'll show you a perfect example.
Well, not yet. I'm developing something. I want to cut to Imam Abdullah, get his comments in a minute.
Yes, Tom.
But audience, listen, 30 minutes after, we're establishing the fact that Sharia has never had anything productive or constructive. We're gonna refer back to Imam Abdul in a second, but let's drill down a little more deeply and look at Dr. Zuhdi Jasser and Saba. You know, Saba Ahmed, who's arguing for some sort of a benign application of the Sharia, but at least Zuhdi Jasser is saying, no, the Sharia, the political component of the Sharia is destructive, needs to be cut out from the Quran, and at least Muslims can have the spiritual component of the Sharia. That is the obligation under law to pray 5 times, to do zakat, to give money, to give alms, to do the Hajj. These things which build your relationship with Allah. That's what we ought to do. Abdullah, what is your view with Dr. Zuhdi Jasser saying, cut out the bad part of the Sharia, leave the spiritual part, and then the world will be a better place?
It is absolutely absurd, and I do not even consider Zuhdi to be a Muslim, to tell you the truth. He is, at the very best, he is a heretic. He is an apostate.
I actually got to agree with Imam Abdul on this one. I think Zuhdi is practicing something called Zuhdiism because it has nothing to do with the true practice of Islam. You know, he's trying, but you know, he's trying to.
Insane.
He's trying to reform Islam in a reform movement and create a whole new religion, which it is what he's practicing is not Islam.
Okay, well,
it's Zuhdiism.
There's 2 very important points here in terms of the frustration that our viewers and listeners have. We live in and breathe and die this stuff all day long. So we understand many elements of it at 32 minutes after WSBR Radio. Tom Trento, go watch us every day, the United West.
.org.
Tea Party Community.
.com.
Go there. Breitbart TV.
.com.
Bunch of stuff up on Breitbart right now. We're going to get to Texas in a minute. But we understand the frustration that people coming to this fight. I told you the other night I was with a couple talking to them, and they're going, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? You look at somebody like Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, and we know him. He's a friend of ours. He's really a wonderful
He's a great guy. I love him to death.
Our critique is that theologically and philosophically, it's impossible for him to succeed at what he's doing because he's taking 1,400 years of stuff and trying to change it in a way that it can't be changed.
Well, and look at it from this way. You've got Al-Azhar University over there pumping out Muslim Brotherhood, Sayyid Qutb, you know, Sharia compliant doctrine throughout the world, and it's being spread. It's like a little machine pumping out. I mean, it's the Harvard, Yale, all the Ivy League schools put together over there, just pumping out hundreds and thousands of these Shia compliant people. I mean, Sharia compliant people, and it's just, and for someone like Zuhdi Jasser to try to fight that, it's best, taking a spoon out of the ocean, and it's just.
Well, let's stay with this a minute because we're uncovering a very, very important debate that's going on within the counter jihad movement, and I'm going to debate some of our brothers and sisters who are with us in the fight who disagree with some of our views. And let me dissect this, lay it out, show you what the debate issues will be. And it's a healthy debate, a very, very healthy debate. As much as we know, and look, we could be wrong, miracles happen, that Zuhdi's task to reform Islam is a fool's errand in many respects. Certainly Islam, qua Islam globally. Could it, let me reduce it in another way. Could Zuhdi convince the 4 residents of, Hobib, Texas, who are Muslims, to believe his way, and he's reformed 4 people in a little town somewhere on the face of the earth? Is that theoretically possible?
I almost say no because it's he doesn't have any support or anything.
I didn't ask that question. Could he
one-on-one say could he convince one person that he is right? Yes.
And if that one person was the mayor of one little town that had 1-person population,
yes.
Zuhdi has had an influence on a piece of geography somewhere in the United States.
Yes.
Okay. Now, And what I would do in a debate is move from there and say, could he convince 5 people? Could he convince 10? And
that's where I start getting
theoretically, it's
yeah.
possible. Could he convince a small community, a mosque somewhere to believe?
Never a whole mosque. Absolutely not. Not if the mosque have a real imam.
He could. It's theoretically
not if the mosque
possible.
have real imam, because this man make interpretation of Islam that does not exist.
So
you cannot separate the political from the religious.
But
Impossible.
you're begging the question. You're assuming the conclusion of the point I'm making.
Yes.
I'm making the fact that it's theoretically possible, and in the world of theory, you have to agree,
Okay, yeah.
it's theoretically possible he could convince one mosque somewhere. Now, the money shot. Then why don't people like us help him in this task? Because it's a net benefit to the United States to have non-lethal Muslims.
Because the eventual outcome of Islam, if you start practicing, if you start using it as its ideological base, the eventual outcome of Islam is jihad. It's a progression. No matter where you start from, it goes to the jihad.
The model that Zudi has developed in our make-believe world has no violent jihad anymore. In fact, no jihad. He takes it completely out. He doesn't do the nonsense.
He rewrites the Quran.
Yes, if he
rewrites the Quran and he calls it Judaism, it's a completely different. Well, let's go the other direction. I'm gonna actually go to your point. We go to Israel and we see the Baha'i Muslims. They're completely PC.
They're not Baha'i Muslims. They're Baha'i.
The Baha'is, but they practice a form of Islam.
No, it's nothing to do with Islam.
Yes,
the Baha'i has nothing to do with Islam.
All right,
It's an Eastern.
But
it is mystical crap. It have nothing to do.
They went to Israel for protection, basically. They're not there. They're not Muslims. They're the last thing in the world.
Have you ever seen the Baha'i temple in the north side of Chicago?
But they still use the. Yeah. Well, anyway, there are Muslims in the Middle East. The Druze. Druze use a real example. The Druze are a
Druze, the Druze, yes.
And they support Israel. They love Israel. They fight with the Israel army. You know, it's a mix. But that's kind of the ideal thing that you're talking about.
A Druze would be a pretty good example. A little different reasons, but yeah, okay.
So your same theory, why don't we throw all our money and support behind the Druze?
The Israelis do.
Okay.
They support them tremendously.
All right.
So you're making my point.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, there's a better reason not to support Zudi.
Okay.
Theoretically supporting Zudi, right? This is a very important discussion, ladies and gentlemen. We're letting you in on it 38 minutes after 4 o'clock.
So we're arguing with ourselves.
There's a battle going on in the counter-jihad movement. There's a lot of people that think any support of any Muslim who is trying to come up with a modified Islam that is not violent or jihadish is a trick. And I know for a fact that some Muslims that are doing that are not trying to trick anybody. They're just fed up with their own faith. They're not at the point of converting to Christianity or to Judaism.
Because they don't want their heads chopped off.
Yeah, so there's traditions because there's tribal elements. I mean, Zudi's family's from Syria, and the Syrian custom, and he's got wonderful kids and a wonderful wife and all of this, and they're a wonderful middle class, upper middle class family. But he has those traditions, those Arab traditions that are important to him, and other Muslim friends of mine.
He lacks one very important Arab tradition. What? He does not hate Jews.
Well, a lot of people that convert from Catholicism to Protestantism, and that was a big battle for many years. The Protestant Christians have a hard time leaving particularly if they're ethnic, like Irish Catholics.
Right.
You're an Irish Catholic, yeah, you're part of being Irish. If you convert to Protestant Christianity, particularly if you're Irish, you have a hard time leaving the traditions of the Catholic
Well, how about
Church.
you being, I'm sure
I wasn't bringing me into this for reasons.
Okay.
But that's okay. We'll do that on another show. So they have a hard time getting out of that Irish tradition. That's what I see with a lot of these Muslims who are trying to get rid of the Shariah, but the Shariah is part and parcel of Islam.
They
You
want
can't
the
cut it
culture.
out.
They want the culture They don't want the rule book.
They don't want the rule book. They want the culture. And they still want to call Islam. And you're saying they can't.
Right.
And we say that. But if enough people believe the way they do, then we got another little goofy religion.
That's
that
fine
who
then.
cares,
It's
you know?
Judaism, like I
It's
said.
fine, but polls show that's not the case. Polls show over 80% of Muslims worldwide want to be ruled by Sharia, and if you take it down
Well-
to the Muslim-dominated countries, it's 95%.
Islam.
But we're talking
and,
about here in America.
Islam and Sharia are two conjoined twins sharing the same heart. You cannot separate them. If you get rid of one, the other dies. You get rid of one, the other dies. You can't have Islam without Sharia.
No, you can't.
And you can't have Sharia without Islam.
But if somebody wants to try to do that and they can convince enough people. Now, here's my problem. I have a problem with the folks who believe the way we do. And there's a lot of counter-jihad fighters out there that believe the way we do. But then they look at Zudi or some of these people, and they don't even understand who they are. They call them all kinds of names, and they think they're either Israeli plants or taqiyya experts. They're not. No. I am a theologian. I understand how the theological mind works when it's confused with culture and religion and doctrine and all this. They're confused people in an existential crisis. And people help them. Ryan Morrow is a big supporter of Zuhdi Jasser.
Right.
But there are folks out there that hate Ryan, call him a traitor. And I'm going to debate some of these on the air.
Right.
Because that's not how you should be treating people on the same battle.
Like you always say, you don't hate the person, you hate the ideology. And if he does not have that ideology, how could you possibly dislike the guy?
We have some of our friends hating Ryan Morrow because he's
crazy.
saying, give Zuhdi a chance. People go, give Zuhdi a chance.
Give Zuhdi a chance.
Now, I used to help Zuhdi a lot, put the debates together and a whole bunch of stuff. And we don't do as much as that. I wouldn't rule it out in the future. But for us, it's a cost-benefit analysis. When you look at the data.
We don't do anything on a cost-benefit analysis.
When you look at the data, when you look at the Pew polls, when you look at the success he's had over all these years, when you look at the huge absurdity of actually making this happen, you go, how much time, we're busy as it is, how much time can we give to Zuhdi to help him do something that we know is
The
never
guy
happened?
was kicked out of his own mosque and
Twice.
threatened with death. That last year was the most recent. This last year, he was kicked out of his own mosque in Arizona.
And to bring this full circle, and Zuhdi, look, we love you, man, and we're.
I think you're a heretic.
We're praying for you. Saba doesn't. To bring this full circle, on yesterday's show, we had Saba Ahmed, and we asked her about Zuhdi Jasser.
She hates him, yeah.
She hates Zuhdi Jasser.
Yep, absolutely.
He's the guy that is reforming Islam. So what's really in her heart?
She has no desire to reform Islam. She tries to convince us that Islam is perfectly compatible with America. In fact, America would be better under Sharia law.
Well, I love when she it was a Freudian slip by her. She says, no, Islam and state cannot be separated.
Can never be separated.
Mosque and state.
Mosque and
Mosque and
state.
state. She said it very definitively.
Oh yeah, she nailed herself. Just like I was able to do with a couple guys over the weekend.
Yep.
Now, you just give them
this
enough
is the
rope.
weekend that's in question. So what are we doing today on today's show?
Getting off schedule as usual.
Schedule again.
We have the Canadian woman coming in, Leslie Ann, in a little bit. But I want to show the video that is up on Breitbart right now.
Okay.
And the full circle here is we got explosions going on the Golan border. We got the Islamic State threatening Japanese. We've got Europe locked down right now. If you're traveling in Europe, you're seeing armed men in cities you've never seen them. The material we're bringing to you is critically important, particularly in light of the State of the Union address tonight, where you're going to hear this gentleman lie like a rug, and he's going to throw a bone to Israel. We guarantee, Israel's our best friend. We'll always be there for him. We're going to stop Iran. Oh, yes, we're going to. Complete nonsense.
As he arms
put him
Palestinian militias at the U.S. consulate, that goes against American law.
And now you have the outside media, the extra media, the neo-media like us, trying to expose in our own country jihad conferences. And you get a situation like this. Take a look at this. Saturday, January 17th, Garland, Texas.
I like that open.
director of security for the school district. Let me advise you that if you come back in, we're going to criminally trespass you.
Okay.
Now you're warned.
Which means you'll be arrested and you'll spend the night in jail, okay?
Okay.
You're welcome to stay on that side of the barricades. That's not unreasonable. We're asking you to do it. However, if you choose to come on this side because he just warned you in front of 2 police officers,
Okay.
you're going to be arrested.
Now, understanding they were in the press area with press passes, and the police came there and kicked Damon and Alan out of the press area and threatened them with arrest. And now we're going to come up on...
That is ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous.
That's completely ridiculous.
Well, we're the wrong press. We weren't AP.
Well, and now we're having an interview with Jesse Waters on the Bill O'Reilly show.
All right, where are you from?
Cameron.
I am from South Florida.
And what are you doing here?
I came here to go to this event.
Why aren't you inside?
Because after I purchased my ticket in Florida and flew here, I was informed that they canceled my ticket and were not going to allow me to attend.
Did they give you a reason for that?
They said that it was sold out. But I have a little suspicion that might not be the case.
How much money did you spend for this whole trip?
Just $40 on tickets, $700 on plane tickets, $200 on a hotel, and $100 on a rental car. But they gave me the $40 back.
And now they won't let you in.
And now they won't let me in. I believe what they have done is discriminate against me based on my religion. My last name is Rosen. The other name on our ticket was Kornman. So,
and this conference is supposed to be about inclusion.
Inclusion, yet they want to exclude me based on my religion.
What do you think's happening inside? They won't let me in either.
What do I think is happening inside based on who is speaking there, namely Siraj Wahaj? I'm sure they're speaking about blasphemy laws and how us out here must be a whole group of haters.
Yeah? You think these people are haters out here? Protesters?
Absolutely not. I think these are good Americans that are standing up for their rights and don't want to see this country turn into France, Britain, or Sweden.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back in the book segment tonight, Waters World, the Muslim Conference.
This is Bill O'Reilly.
Over the weekend in Garland, Texas, outside of Dallas, hundreds of folks attended an event called Stand with the Prophet, a conference and fundraiser. One of those people was Jesse Waters.
I filled out the media form and I bought tickets too, personally, and now they're saying I can't go in.
There's a certain type of media allowed. A certain type of media allowed.
It's supposed to be open press, and I came all the way down here from New York.
All the media is right up front.
They can't ban us from being at a conference center. They don't own the conference center.
They rented it out.
Now, why can't the press come in? What's going on in there?
These are Nation of Islam guys.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of Nation of Islam there, by the way.
Well, if you didn't fill out a press pass, I did.
Jesse Waters with 2
This
T's.
is a care
Keynote
rep.
speaker in there.
Blew us off.
There's an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
What that means, I'm not going to accept that propaganda.
It's not propaganda, it's legal fact. President Obama doesn't like to say Islamic extremism. Does that make you feel better?
I think it gives rise to Islamophobia when we associate extremism with a religion.
Islamophobia didn't take down the Trade Center. Islamic fascists did. Seems to be a lot of turmoil in that part of the world. A lot of beheadings, stonings of women. Why is that tolerated in the Muslim world?
Because that's what we believe. It says in the Quran.
This has got to be a joke. This can't be real.
Women shouldn't be able to,
Definitely real. I'll tell you why.
go out in public just, wearing regular clothes.
When women aren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, do you think that's right?
I just believe what the Quran says because I'm a Muslim.
So you believe in subjugating women?
I don't.
Because that's what the Quran says?
No.
Would you like Sharia law in America?
Yes, that'd be nice.
All right, so what are you here protesting today?
Sharia law. They think they're going to try to impose it here, and it's not going to happen.
Now, they've been saying that there's a lot of Islamophobia out here.
No!
If you were to ask the people, the survivors, and the family of those people in France, if it was Islamophobia, do you think they would say that they have Islamophobia?
I bought tickets to go there. I was credentialed, and they wouldn't let me in.
Who's they? Who wouldn't let you in?
Well, CARE was running the press shop for this conference.
Okay.
Police wouldn't let me in. Anybody having anything to do with the conference would not let me in.
So they said you couldn't go in even though you had a ticket and you were credentialed.
Right, and they revoked my ticket as I landed in Dallas and refunded me.
No, they refunded your money.
And then they wouldn't let me in, but they let other local media in to shoot the first 20 minutes and then booted them out.
Did you hear from the folks outside? Was there any radical stuff going on in there?
It's hard to say because it invites suspicion because they won't let you in.
Wow, very good report, Mark. You put that together?
Yeah.
And that's up. You shot a bunch of that, you and Alan?
Yeah, it's up on Breitbart right now.
It's up on Breitbart TV, and we can talk all day on that. Let's just get a quick comment from Damon on what that was all about in your time with Jesse. Then we'll bring Leslie Ann in from Canada, get her view on Stand with the Prophet, her view on Islamic Jihad in Canada, and all the work she does writing for different publications in Jerusalem.
Was there a question or a recap?
Yeah, your comment, just your comment on that piece of video for our viewers. What should they really grasp? What was the essential element?
Thing is this: you have an event being held by a bunch of terror-affiliated individuals and Muslim apologists like John Esposito on publicly funded property. And I was threatened with arrest because the organizers of the event did not like what type of press we were. They allowed AP in, because you know AP is nothing but a bunch of Muslim apologists, but they kept Jesse out, they kept Alan and I out, even though Alan had a perfectly legit media badge. I was trying to get in just to get in, okay? Alan had legit, and we were there as media. Okay, this is what I do every day. Am I not media? I'm on the radio every day.
That's not an issue.
So it's basically a bunch of terrorists deciding what type of media coverage they would like and what type they don't. And this is after a bunch of jihadis kill a bunch of cartoonists because they don't believe in free speech. So here it is again on public property. A bunch of jihadis shutting down the freedom of the press. That's what it's about.
We're going to have to pursue that, yeah.
My quick take on it is two things. One is it's a fraud issue. I mean, they sold a ticket to an event, and then when you got there, the ticket
tell you can't come.
Tell you can't come. This would be like going to a Billy Joel
for you.
Billy Joel concert. You're going to a Billy Joel concert, and all of a sudden you get there to the door. It's, no, we're not taking your ticket. Why? Because we decided to not.
Because we heard you like Led Zeppelin.
You know what? You may be onto something. Go ahead, real fast, because we got to bring.
And then the other issue too, we heard from our inside sources that they were actually going through each ticket and removing the tickets of people's with names of Jewish surnames and American surnames, and just screening for Muslim names only.
We're going to have to pursue this, because what a beautiful ploy to not have any requirements listed when you buy the ticket. You could have requirements, say, here's what's required. You have to have a PhD, whatever. None of that. So you come, you pay your money, you go. They refund your money, so you're made whole, except for all the money you've expended.
Yeah. Right.
And they
they give you 5% of the cost back. The tickets were the least expensive part of the whole thing. My lunch in the airport 2 times is more money than the ticket.
It's a good move on their part. Developing story, ladies and gentlemen. We're pursuing this. We're looking into some legal issues for not being allowed in, for being threatened with arrest, all of that. But right now, let's go to a new face on our show, Enemies of the State. Leslie Ann Stoffel, how are you? Hi.
I'm very well, thank you.
There you are. I think
She's
we got
very well, thank you.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you in cold Canada right now?
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver.
Okay.
But it's quite sunny today, surprisingly.
And the temperature up in Vancouver, we're down in Florida. It's very hot down here. What's the temperature in Vancouver?
Gosh, I think it's about in the low 50s right now.
Oh, that's not bad.
Right.
That's not even Canada weather in the
Well,
winter time.
yeah, Vancouver's very mild.
Now you do a lot of blogging and writing for various publications focusing on jihad, on national security, on Israel. What is your take? Have you been following this conference that was in Texas, Stand with the Prophet?
I have. I follow Pamela Geller's work very closely, and now you also. I've known about you, but now more than I'm your friend on Facebook now, so I see your things posted more often. And I did see it. To me, we're at a tipping point in Western civilization, just like Pamela said. I mean, all of our freedoms, freedom of speech, so many freedoms are trying to be taken away through Shariah law. So it's getting out of hand, and I'm glad Pamela and your guys went down there to cover it, and you'll keep covering it. There's just a real push on all over the world, as you know, for this Sharia compliant society to take over our Western civilization.
What's the situation? We only have a couple of minutes. We'll have to get you back another time. When we got long-winded in our show and got into a little internal debate here earlier, but take about a minute. Tell us. We know you do not have a First Amendment up there. When you write for Canadian publications, what's it like to try to expose the jihad in Canada, but having to not cross the line to get in trouble? What is that like?
Well, you know what's funny right at this moment? Oh, actually, I do have a blog on the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs, the CIJA, and it's not too bad. Although, I tried to put the connection between the Nazis and the PLO, which there actually is one, and it's a historical fact. And they wouldn't print this particular blog that I wrote about that.
That bad. I mean, that is a known fact. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because CIJA actually really toes the party line. Now, I mean, I know even our Canadian government does about this two-state solution thing, but I tried to write kind of against that, and they wouldn't print that one thing. So I've just gone on and kept writing for other places. Like I write for the United with Israel, which I also work for them. And our editor, our senior writer there, Tara Beck, she's actually Canadian. And she had me write something about a Canadian Green Party person here who got into trouble here in Canada for blogging pro-Israel things when the Gaza war was going on.
Now, so, we only have about a minute left with you, Leslie Ann. Do you have a network up there in Western Canada of like-minded people fighting Islamic Jihad, Sharia, or are you kind of all alone up there?
No, we do. I'm really strong on social networking. Like I've got about 24,000 people all over the world in that case, but I know a lot of other people do it through email and through their churches and through their, the synagogues. And there is a network of people here. Of course, our population isn't as large as the United States, but we have people here that are very strongly trying to push back against this, I guess what you could say. Good. And luckily we have Stephen Harper and John Baird, who are very, very pro-Western values and pro-Israel. So
Sun TV.
Yep. No, that's great. All right, we're going to have to let you go right now. We're at the end of our show, but let's stay in touch. We want to get reports from you as to what's going on not only across the other side of this continent, but a little further north. Keep doing the work you're doing. You're an admiration, an inspiration for people when they go, what can I do? What can I do? Sit down at a typewriter, type some words, get it out, learn some stuff, folks. You can do a lot. Don't be limited by yourself. Yes. Leslie Ann, thank you very much. We shall be seeing you. We got to.
Thank you.
End of the show already, man. What happened? That was the quickest hour ever.
Yeah, it's like went to zero all of a sudden.
Zudi took out all our time.
Zudi sucked up all our time.
Blame it on the heretic.
Tomorrow, we're working on a very special guest, a member of parliament from Europe. will be our guest if
Can
all
we-
the logistics. No
No,
names yet.
no names yet?
If all the logistics come together, it's very difficult to pull these things off. But if anybody can do it, we can do it here. Other than that, we want you to have a lovely Tuesday. Tom Trento signing off for everybody here at the United West Enemies of the State. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.